I will always remember the conversation I had with my father when I told him about my engagement. He took me aside and expressed his concerns about marrying Ethan, questioning if he was truly the right match for me. Despite my protestations about Ethan's love and respect for me, my father remained skeptical. He spoke from his own experience, having built his wealth from humble beginnings. He emphasized his respect for people regardless of their economic status, but voiced his doubts about Ethan's character. He mentioned overhearing Ethan boasting to his friends about marrying into wealth, which made me uncomfortable. At the time, I dismissed my father's concerns, blinded by love and the desire to hold on to something stable after losing my mother and facing my father's illness. Ethan and his mother, Amelia, seemed to fill that void for me, but in hindsight, I realize I may have been naive. My father was a wealthy man, but he never flaunted it. He provided for us comfortably, and I worked hard to contribute to our livelihood. Ethan and Amelia, on the other hand, seemed dissatisfied with what they had, often expressing disdain for my modest home and suggesting that my father should give us his mansion. Their eagerness to spend my hypothetical inheritance disturbed me greatly. They seemed to have no qualms about waiting for my father's demise to improve their own living situation, which made me question their motives and their true feelings towards me. Looking back, I wish I had listened to my father's warnings. His instincts were likely right, and I regret not taking his advice more seriously. Love can sometimes blind us to the truth, but it's important to heed the wisdom of those who care for us, even if it's not what we want to hear. The situation with Ethan and Amelia became even more strained as time went on. Despite not being in dire financial straits, they incessantly pestered me to ask my late father for more money. It seemed they were fixated on living a lavish lifestyle, even if their own means didn't support it. After my father's passing, their behavior took a turn for the worse. While I was grappling with the grief of losing my father, they showed little empathy or support. Instead, they were solely focused on the reading of the will, showing no interest in the funeral arrangements or offering any comfort to me. Their absence at the funeral was a stark indicator of their true feelings towards my father, and it left me feeling heartbroken and angry. It was during this time that my father's earlier warnings about their intentions started to ring true in my mind. I began to suspect that their interest in me might have been solely driven by the potential of inheriting my wealth. When the time came for the reading of the will, Ethan and Amelia were not allowed to be present, which sparked outrage from them. They argued vehemently that as family, they had a right to know what was in the will, conveniently forgetting their indifference towards my father in his final days. Their obsession with my inheritance only intensified after the reading of the will. They bombarded me with questions about how much money I had received, refusing to believe me when I told them there was none. Their disbelief quickly turned to accusations, insinuating that I was withholding information from them. Despite my assurances, they continued to press me for details, insisting that I fight for what they believed was rightfully mine. However, as days turned into weeks and no inheritance materialized, their frustration grew apparent. It was then that I realized their true motives were not grounded in concern for me but rather their own greed. I stood firm in my resolve not to engage further with their demands, recognizing the toxicity of their behavior. Even as they persisted in their inquiries, I remained steadfast in my decision not to divulge any more information. Deep down, I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that they were up to something, and I was determined not to play into their hands any longer. Ethan's behavior took a drastic turn as he became increasingly obsessed with my inheritance, or lack thereof. He grew distant and stopped showing affection towards me, instead constantly probing for information about my financial situation. It became clear to me that he was fixated on the idea of inheriting wealth, and I could see where this was headed. After enduring their relentless badgering, I decided to confront the issue head-on. I presented my bank statements to Ethan and Amelia, hoping to put an end to their misguided assumptions. However, their reaction was nothing short of shocking. They were incredulous to discover that there was no substantial inheritance, lamenting the years they had invested in our marriage solely for financial gain. Ethan's resentment towards me bubbled to the surface as he expressed regret for marrying me, claiming it was all a waste of time. It was a devastating realization that he had married me under false pretenses, solely for financial gain. Amelia didn't hesitate to chime in, urging Ethan to divorce me, so he could find a new wife with more wealth. The callousness of their words cut deep, confirming my worst fears about their true intentions. Ethan's compliance with his mother's suggestion only served to reinforce my sense of betrayal. Their cold dismissal of our marriage and their readiness to discard me left me feeling numb. I was consumed by a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. Despite my inner turmoil, I remained composed, agreeing to the divorce to spare myself further anguish. Their insistence on a mutual divorce to avoid any financial obligations only added insult to injury. It was clear that their concern lay solely in preserving their own interests, with little regard for the emotional toll it took on me. In the end, I realized that their greed had blinded them to the value of genuine human connection. I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered marriage, grappling with the harsh reality of their betrayal. But amidst the pain, I found solace in the knowledge that I was finally free from their deceitful grasp. As I reflected on the dissolution of my marriage to Ethan and navigated the murky waters of divorce proceedings, I made a decision that surprised even myself. Despite the emotional turmoil, I agreed to a mutual divorce with one condition: that neither of us would claim any share of the other's assets. Ethan readily agreed, acknowledging that our current financial standings didn't leave much to divide. It was a somewhat amicable agreement, given the circumstances. As we finalized the details, I could sense relief emanating from both Ethan and Amelia, who seemed pleased that I wasn't contesting the divorce. However, their assumption that I was unaffected by the situation couldn't have been further from the truth. Behind the facade of calmness, I was silently grappling with the heartache and betrayal that plagued me. I found solace in private moments where I allowed myself to grieve the loss of what I once thought was a loving marriage. Despite my efforts to conceal my anguish, Ethan and Amelia remained oblivious to my suffering. They failed to notice the telltale signs of my emotional turmoil, blinded by their own selfish desires. Their indifference only fueled my determination to sever ties with them as swiftly as possible. Once the divorce was underway, I took the necessary steps to distance myself from Ethan and Amelia. I insisted they vacate my house and find alternative accommodation while we awaited the finalization of our divorce. True to his word, Ethan didn't contest my ownership of the house, and I, in turn, refrained from seeking alimony. Yet, little did they know, there was a twist waiting to unfold. On the day our divorce was officially granted, I paid Ethan a visit to return my wedding and engagement rings. It was a symbolic gesture, an attempt to purge myself of the painful memories associated with our failed marriage. But as I handed over the rings, I couldn't help but find irony in Amelia's assumption of my destitution. With a burst of unexpected laughter, I revealed the truth. My parents had left me an inheritance far beyond monetary wealth. They had bequeathed to me the ownership of the entire neighborhood. The shock on Ethan and Amelia's faces was palpable as I explained the clandestine clause in my parents' will. Their disbelief quickly turned to realization as they grappled with the fact that their assumptions had been so grossly misguided. It was a moment of vindication for me, a reminder that true wealth transcends material possessions. As they came to terms with the revelation, I couldn't help but feel a sense of liberation. I had finally broken free from the shackles of their deceit and manipulation. And as I walked away from their stunned silence, I embraced the promise of a new beginning, one built on authenticity and self-worth, rather than greed and deception. The truth about my inheritance left Ethan and Amelia dumbfounded. It turned out that my parents had set up a clever test to determine if Ethan's love for me was genuine or merely driven by greed. They had appointed an estate manager to oversee the property until the inheritance was passed to me after a year. And to my amusement, Ethan and Amelia's landlord happened to be that very estate manager. When confronted with this revelation, Ethan and Amelia's facade of confidence crumbled. They were stunned and panicked, realizing the depth of their deception. They accused me of tricking them into believing I had no wealth, conveniently forgetting their own deceitful motives in our marriage. But I wasn't about to let them off the hook so easily. I pointed out the irony of their accusations and laughed at their audacity to blame me for their own misdeeds. It was clear that they were reaping the consequences of their greed, and it was time for some well-deserved karma. Despite their attempts to salvage the situation, I refused to entertain the idea of reconciling with them. Ethan's pleas for forgiveness fell on deaf ears, and I made it clear that I wanted nothing to do with him or his manipulative mother. As the weeks passed, Ethan and Amelia resorted to desperate measures, showing up at my doorstep to beg for forgiveness. But their eviction from my property was imminent, and I wasted no time in reclaiming what was rightfully mine. Once the inheritance was transferred to my name, I swiftly kicked them out, much to their disbelief. Their attempts to harass me further only led to legal repercussions, as I filed for a restraining order against them. And with the truth about their actions spreading throughout the town, they were shunned by their former friends and forced to leave the city to start anew. Meanwhile, I reveled in my newfound wealth, free from the clutches of gold-digging parasites. The ordeal had been a painful lesson, but I emerged stronger and more determined than ever to protect myself from those who sought to exploit me. And as I basked in my newfound freedom, I knew that I had finally broken free from the toxic grip of Ethan and Amelia. In the wake of my newfound independence, I immersed myself in exploring the possibilities that my inheritance offered. With the weight of Ethan and Amelia's deceit lifted from my shoulders, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. One of the first things I did was to invest in myself. I enrolled in classes and workshops to expand my knowledge and skills, determined to carve out a path that was entirely my own. From business courses to creative endeavors, I embraced every opportunity to grow and evolve. But my ambitions extended beyond personal development. Inspired by my parents' legacy of generosity, I sought out ways to give back to my community. I established scholarships for underprivileged students, funded local charities, and supported initiatives that aimed to make a positive impact on society. As I delved deeper into philanthropy, I found fulfillment in knowing that my wealth could be used to affect real change in the world. Whether it was sponsoring educational programs or funding environmental conservation projects, I was committed to using my resources for the greater good. Yet, amidst the excitement of building a brighter future, I couldn't shake the lingering scars of my past. The wounds inflicted by Ethan and Amelia's betrayal ran deep, leaving me wary of trusting others too easily. But with time, I learned to guard my heart without closing myself off to genuine connections. In the realm of relationships, I treaded cautiously, mindful of the lessons learned from my failed marriage. I refused to settle for anything less than genuine love and mutual respect, refusing to be swayed by materialistic motives or superficial charms. Fortunately, life had a way of surprising me when I least expected it. Through chance encounters and serendipitous moments, I found companionship in unexpected places. Whether it was forging new friendships or discovering romance in the most unlikely of circumstances, I embraced the journey with an open heart and a cautious optimism. And as I navigated the twists and turns of life's unpredictable path, I found solace in the knowledge that I was no longer defined by the mistakes of my past. Armed with resilience, compassion, and a newfound sense of purpose, I embraced each day as an opportunity to rewrite my story on my own terms. In the end, my journey from heartache to healing was a testament to the power of resilience and self-discovery. Through adversity and triumph alike, I emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to live a life guided by authenticity, integrity, and unwavering self-belief. As I settled into my newfound life of independence and exploration, I found myself drawn to new experiences and adventures. With the weight of past betrayals lifted, I embraced each day as an opportunity for growth and discovery. One aspect of my journey involved reconnecting with my passions and interests, many of which had been overshadowed by the tumultuous events of my marriage. I rediscovered the joy of hobbies like painting, hiking, and playing music, finding solace and inspiration in creative expression. But my quest for self-discovery extended beyond personal hobbies. I also delved into the world of travel, eager to explore new cultures, cuisines, and landscapes. From bustling city streets to serene natural wonders, each destination offered a chance to broaden my horizons and gain a deeper understanding of the world around me. In my travels, I encountered people from all walks of life, each with their own stories and perspectives. I embraced these encounters with an open heart, eager to learn from diverse experiences and forge meaningful connections along the way. Yet, amidst the excitement of exploration, I remained grounded by a sense of purpose and responsibility. I recognized the privilege afforded to me by my inheritance and felt a strong desire to use my resources for positive change. One way I did this was by investing in causes that aligned with my values, such as sustainable development, education, and social justice. I supported organizations and initiatives that aimed to address pressing global issues, believing in the power of collective action to drive meaningful impact. But my commitment to making a difference went beyond financial contributions. I also dedicated my time and energy to volunteering, whether it was mentoring youth, serving meals at homeless shelters, or participating in community cleanup efforts. Through these experiences, I discovered a profound sense of fulfillment in giving back to others and contributing to the common good. It was a reminder that true wealth lies not just in material possessions, but in the ability to make a positive difference in the lives of others. As I continued to navigate the ups and downs of life's journey, I found strength and resilience in the lessons learned from my past. I embraced each challenge as an opportunity for growth, knowing that with perseverance and determination, I could overcome any obstacle that came my way. And as I looked towards the future with optimism and anticipation, I knew that no matter where life took me, I would always carry with me the lessons learned from my journey of self-discovery and transformation. Armed with a newfound sense of purpose and a deep appreciation for life's beauty and complexity, I embraced each day with gratitude and a sense of wonder, eager to see what new adventures lay ahead.